Here we are, back again, another live video. Today is episode number 9 in our Cloud Quest series, right, where we've been going through playing the AWS game Cloud Quest, right, so we can learn all about cloud computing and stuff like that. So we're going to have a lot of fun, right? We're going to go through this application. We're going to solve this we're going to solve this problem set on behalf of our customers. For those of y'all, if it's your first time here, second, third, or 100th time here, if you have not done so, please click like on the video and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell, right, so you can become a part of the tech savvy community where we are learning all about cloud computing and stuff like that on this beautiful Sunday evening. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, so what we're going to be doing today, all right, we're going to be playing our games. Let me go ahead and load that up, right? And go ahead and get started. So right now we're going to go ahead and navigate to our solution, right, which is auto scaling. So we're going to be auto scaling. Right now I'm going to save it until I'm going to save like the explanation of what we're going to be doing, and I'll be talking through it as we're going along, right? But this is all about auto scaling. And just to what, I'm going to go ahead and present it now, just to put it in the context, what is auto scaling, right? So imagine you have a website. You have a big old website, right? No. Let me go. Let me bring in, do another example. So just imagine, right? So like back in the pandemic time, right? When now everybody's at home and everybody's just sitting down, don't have nothing to do. Hey, let me watch TV or whatever the case. All type of companies like web companies, right, whether it be Netflix, streaming, gaming companies, so on and so forth, they all experience like so much traffic at one point in time. So like if they were just running their own data centers, like the data center would crash because they're expecting a normal at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, they're expecting like let's say 50,000 users, right, to be on their system, and now all of a sudden they're dealing with like 800,000. It's almost it would just take up all their capacity. But luckily we have cloud computing that can help us out with that example, right? So basically what happens is like let's say you have a computer. All right, this is my little computer, like it looks like a hamburger or a sandwich or something I'm about to eat, right? So basically what happens is that when you auto scale, you make the sandwich bigger so you can feed more people, right? And that's exactly what's going to happen. We have our EC2 web servers that are in the cloud, and we're going to make them bigger so that way we can provide services and applications to more users. So that's what we're about to do. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we are, and it always takes us to a scenario so we know what we're doing, right? So it says, "Hi, I own the city's best gaming cafe. Thanks for answering my call for help," right? This is our customer. "I am a gamer too. How can I help?" Right? So gaming parties are hot right now, and we're allowing our users to host their own servers for various games in our cafe. We have a maximum number of Amazon EC2 instances that we allow users to provision each day, but we do not have controls to enforce these rules. So we have a couple of issues. First, if we have an EC2 instance crashes, we have no automatic way to replace it. That's the first problem set, right? Secondly, right, we want users to stay within their server provisioning limit. We don't want them using just random resources and crashing our machines and stuff like that. So I say, hey, this sounds like a perfect opportunity to use auto scaling groups, right? You create groups of machines that handle all this traffic, right? It's like, cool. All right, you can set up launch templates for your users' games, web servers. In those templates, you can configure the number of EC2 instances to automatically scale up or down based upon the specific demand which you're going through, right? You can also set hard limits on the number of instances that your users can provision, right? Oh, that sounds excellent, but we have another issue. Okay, what's your other issue, right? Let's go. All right, a large party is booked from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. every Tuesday. The moment the party starts, we want servers up and ready. The moment the party ends, we want those servers to shut down, right? So that's what we're doing. We're doing the auto scaling group, and we're also going to set time limits on it when we know we have a mass amount of users. What does this do? It saves money for our customers because when you go in the cloud, everything is pay as you go, right? So the more resources that you use, the more you have to pay. So if we have this time limit, you can effectively, make money, provide services, and then when everything is over, you shut it down. It's that simple, right? How can we ensure that users the user game service start up and shut down at specific times. That's what the customer is asking us, right? All right, using auto scaling groups, you can configure schedule scaling that launches and terminates instances according to a predefined schedule, right? I think auto scaling groups can work for us. Can you configure an auto scaling group for our gaming service? Yes, we will, and yes, we can. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. All right, so now we're going into our web server, right? Or excuse me, we're going into the game. And what the game does for everybody that's new to the game, right? This is going to create a cloud environment for us. So we do not have to go in and provision all this stuff like a normal lab. Like if you were just labbing by yourself, AWS has already provisioned these resources for us. So all we're going to do is use and implement them, to create a solution for our customer while we're playing the game. Now, here we go. Auto healing and scaling applications. All right. So create an auto scaling group that follows schedule scaling activities to add and remove servers. Also, add a scaling policy and more servers based on the group average CPU usage. All right. So here you go. Right. We have our Cloud Watch alarm. Right. That's just an alarm that's set that watches all the resources within the cloud console to make sure that we're not overutilizing certain things. Right. So as you see, if we have one that's greater than 70%, it would go into effect and then it will start spinning up resources on our behalf. All right, so we'll just go ahead and get started with the plan. All right, so for our practice lab, right, we're going to create Amazon EC2 auto scaling group, and then we're going to assign instances to that auto scaling group. And then for our DIY goals, our do it yourself, because when we play this game, AWS says, okay, hey, we're going to walk you through a scenario, and then for the final project, we want you to do it by yourself, right? So for our DIY goal, right, it's saying, hey, configure an auto scaling policy to scale down to 0 resources at 1 a.m. every day. And that's what our customer asks us to do, right? So that's what we're going to do. So now we're going to go into our practice scenario, and here we go. So we're going to go ahead and start up our lab, right? This is how you get that lab environment up and running, all right, within the console and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and start that up. All right, so it says, hey, review the practice lab objectives. All right, and then so we're just waiting for this environment to spin up, right? So if you want to see like auto scaling on your own or anything like that, all you got to do is just go over to and just look up like AWS auto scaling, okay? You can just look it up, and then you can see like all the resources within the documentation on the AWS website, okay? So all this stuff is within the free tier. I think I'm gonna do a video about like the free tier for people that's unaware of that, right? Right, and then like I said, you can just go ahead and search. You can search within here and say like, hey, auto scaling and AWS auto scaling, right? And then you can click on that, and then you can kind of read about what auto scaling, what this service actually offers, right? As far as like for customers, how, and then you can look through how to set it up, what are the benefits, what are the disadvantages, so on and so forth. As you look through kind of like the documentation that's set in here. Okay, so man, the AWS environment, it says it's still being provisioned. So we got to see what's going on with that. All right, let me see. All right, so we have this right here is probably more than likely a big, like a big resource. So that's why it's taking a little second to set up. All right. Okay, hey, we have a question here from A Hill while we're sitting waiting. Thank you very much, A Hill. It says, does AWS Cloud Watch shut down virtual desktops of users who do not shut down for days? You can set up like, so basically what you can do if it's like an underutilized resource. So what happens is like when a user goes into the cloud, right, and then configures these specific resources, what happens is that like when you make the user an account, they're going to be responsible for like everything that goes on. So the only way CloudWatch will step into effect is if you set like an alarm on it, right? And the alarm is like, hey, you can say, it's going to like capacity, so people are using it too much. It's like at 40% utilization, 70% utilization, it will trigger an alarm. Or like, let's say that instance crashes or something like that, right? You can set up a CloudWatch alarm with auto scaling to where it would automatically kick in and start up a new instance. So to answer your question, right, like the users will kind of like be responsible. You can set up other things like billing alarms, right? Not so much CloudWatch, but you can use like billing alarms. So let's say that somebody has like a desktop or something, and they have like EBS instances and things like that that's charging money. You know, you can set up a billing alarm, so if they didn't turn off their resources properly within so many days, you can look and see like, oh, hey, this certain desktop, you know, is causing us money. What's going on? You can look and see in there, and then that way it'll tell you like, oh, this person is using resources even when they're not like at work or whatever the case. And then you can just reach out to that particular person and tell them to shut it down. So I hope that answers your question, A here. All right, so coming back in. All right, so now our console is up and ready, and it is ready to go. All right, so now we'll go ahead and open up our console, right? All right, so now when we come into our cloud console, right, as cloud engineers, as cloud professionals within the tech savvy community, right, that's what we're a part of, the tech savvy community, right? What is the first thing we look for when we come in here? We want to make sure that we're operating within the right region, right? So we come up here, all right, North Virginia, we want to set everything we do within US East, North Virginia, right? Because like when you go different regions, like there's different costs associated with all these different regions. So you want to make sure, and plus it's like bandwidth issues. So if I have a web server, right, and I want to serve people that's in the United States, but then I place my resources in Frankfurt, Germany, right, then the bandwidth is going to be slower for those people that's in the United States, so on and so forth. So you want to make sure that you set all your resources as close to your potential customers as possible, okay? All right, so now coming back to let's go back to our game. All right, got it. So now we have EC2, so it's telling us to click on the EC2, which stands for Elastic Cloud Compute, and then we're going to click on instances. So you know, whenever we want to search for new resources within the cloud, we can come up here. I know it's already right here and recently visited, but we want to make sure we do it the proper way for people that don't know, right? So we come up here to EC2 and we can search up every specific service that AWS has. So we come over here to EC2, right? And then we come over here to the instances tab, right? And then we see that we have a game server set up because our customer came to us and says, hey, they want us to kind of like help them with their game server. So that's what we're doing today, right? So here we go. All right, so now, so we came over here, we clicked on instance, we see the game server is running, all right? Okay, so it says, hey, click on the instance ID. So we'll click on the instance ID right here, and then you see it gives us a bunch of information about this instance. This is the standard information that you're going to see, right? You're going to always see the public IP address, right? And then whenever you see these little blocks right here, this just means copy. So if I came over here and clicked on that, right, it would just copy that. All right, so most instances is they're gonna have a public IP address, they're gonna have a private IP address. This is the DNS information. Then it tells about the instance type, like how big the instance is, and then this is the elastic IP, which would be like a permanent IP address, right? All right, so now we come over here to the next step, and it's telling us, hey, click right here. So it's telling us to copy just like we just did. Okay, so we click on that, and then it wants us to open it up in a separate web browser. So basically all we're doing is we're copying the public IP address, and then we're going to paste that into a separate web browser right here, right? And then when we click on it, we see this website that's came up. It's just like going to any other website, right? All right, so this is the website that our game server is located on, and I guess the game is called The Hunt, right? So let's go now and see what it wants us to do. So type this, paste this, got it. All right, so click on instances and then choose the game server. All right, this is a lot of steps. So then once we choose it, all right, number 3, it's going to click on image and templates, all right, and then we're going to create an image. Oh, okay, this is fairly easy. All right, so now when we come over here, let's go back to our instances. We're going to click on that right there. All right, then we're going to come over to instance, image, and templates, and we're going to create an image. All right, So like when you spin up these web servers, right? Everything is built on an image. An image is just like a set of instructions. So just imagine when you buy a laptop, right? When you buy a laptop, it already comes with an image. So when you open it up, it says Windows, or if you bought a Mac, unfortunately, then it would it will pop up with like the Mac Apple image, right? So what we're gonna do, what it's asking us to do is it wants us to create an image, right, with it for our web service. So that's what we're gonna do today. All right, good. All right, so it says, hey, return to the Amazon console, blah, 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 create an image. Okay, got it. All right, so now, okay, so we have to give our image a name. The name will be game server. I hate, man, when I play this game, for some reason, it does not let me copy and paste this stuff, so I have to type everything in, which I don't like. Yeah. All right, so I guess that was called game server. Okay. Make sure I got the capitalization right and all that stuff. All right, and this right here, the image description is the regular customer game server. All right, got it. So then this would be regular customer game server. All right. Okay, so the regular customer game server. All right, then it says go to the next step. So when we go to the next step, we're going to scroll down, and then on the tags, tag image and snapshots together. Let me see. Okay, so this is already checked, tag image and snapshots together. All right, so when you create resources within the cloud, you give it tags so like everything doesn't get lost, right? Because if you create like 1,000 machines and then you don't tag it properly, you might be like, oh, where did I put that game server? Or where did I put that web server? So on and so forth, right? All right, so choose tag, we're done, and then click, and it says, hey, create image. So then we'll go ahead and do that. So now we are creating an image of that game server. All right, that's great. Okay, so now for our next step, so click on AMIs, right? So this is the machine images. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll come down here and click on AMIs. All right, and then review the game server. All right. So we'll review this game server information, and this is just the AMI tab, right? Talks about different things, platform details, how much storage and stuff that you have, the root service, the root storage device, the Linux like directory of how to get there, so on and so forth, just that type of information. All right, so now click on refresh, and then it should be available. All right, so let's look at our game server real quick. Okay, and it says, hey, the status is pending because sometimes it takes time for like you to spin up resources within the cloud. So it wants us to kind of like refresh until our game server is up and running, which is no problem. All right, so we're just sitting here waiting for our game server to come up online. All right, and while we're doing that, let's find the other directions. All right, so we click on that, we're refreshing. We want to review, we're waiting for it to be available, and then we'll go into launch templates. Okay, so let's go back. Waiting on that thing to come online. She's still trying to come up. Hey, if you guys are in here right now and you haven't done so, please click like on the video so we can get the message out to the people. Help everyone learn about cloud computing, right? So they can become more tech savvy. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right. If you got any questions or anything like that, or just something that you would like to know while we're going through this, also you can drop that in the chat. Man, it's taking a little second. All right, so let's just keep moving. All right, so, and then I got to remember to click on launch template. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Click on launch templates. All right, and then it's going to tell us, it's going to ask us to create a launch template. Once our resource actually comes up here, let me go back to AMIs. Man, this thing, still waiting for it to come up. Okay. So while we're sitting there waiting for our launch template to come up, right? Let's talk about a crazy situation. Like the first time, when you first go through this, right, and you're like navigating around the cloud, it can be very like intimidating or whatever the case may be. Just know, man, anybody and everybody can learn this. But I get a lot of questions all the time, right? People always ask me like, Trey, what's the first thing that I should learn? Like, what's the first coding language or something I should learn to like work in the cloud? What I would tell anybody and everybody, right? I'm not saying don't learn the coding language, but before you learn anything, the first thing you must learn is this right here, Linux. Because everything in the cloud, man, every single thing that I've seen since I've been working in the cloud is everything is based on Linux, man. Like when you go in here and you create these web servers, it's all based on Linux. Like when you start learning like about containerization and stuff like that, Docker, like Kubernetes, stuff like that, everything is based upon Linux. So Linux is the first thing that you want to learn. All right, before you do anything. And it's simple. Like, I'm not saying that you got to get like a doctorate degree, what I mean, in Linux or whatever the case. You just want to make sure that you know like basic Linux commands, right? You know how to navigate around a Linux terminal. And that's pretty much all you need to know to get started. You know what I mean? All right, so now our machine has finally, I say finally come online. All right, so now let's go into our launch templates into the next step. All right, so it says, hey, create launch template. That's what we're going to do. All right, excuse me. Create launch template. All right, so we're going to call this game server template. All right, so we got to name that game server template. All right, and call the template version regular customer server. All right, game server template. So we'll call this regular customer server game server template. I believe I got that right. Let me see. Got to capitalize that R, regular customer server game server template. Okay, got it. Got to capitalize that R because a lot of things are case sensitive. All right, and then auto scaling guidance. So provide guidance to help me set up a template that I can use with EC2 auto scaling. All right, so we'll go ahead and click on that guy right there. All right, and then, all right, so that's all we need for that page. Okay, got it. So then scroll down and it's gonna bring us to this AMI. So now we're searching for different AMIs, right? So as we do that, okay, we can go to recent, but we wanna use the one that we actually created, that game server AMI, right? All right, and then choose the game server AMI, which we've chosen. All right, and then choose the instance type. Okay, so when we're building out our instances, what was that? T2, choose a T2 Nano. All right, so when we build out our instance, this is how big the machines that we want to make, right? So, it's saying for just for this game, we can use a T2 Nano, all right? But just remember, as you're going through and you're playing with this cloud and these different cloud resources, some instance types are free tier eligible and some are not, right? So if you have an account and you've already signed up on the free tier, then you need to make sure that you're using free tier resources. But because this is the game, AWS is paying for it, so we don't have to worry about it, right? So now we just go ahead and choose T2 Nano. Okay, that's what it said. All right, and then we need to create a new key pair, right? This is how we're going to SSH into our system. All right, so we're going to create a new key pair. And we're going to call our key pair, let's call it Cloud Quest 1, right? All right, and then you want to make sure that when you're creating a key pair, right, you're going to use the RSA algorithm, right? The encryption out, the RSA encryption, right? And then you're going to use .pem because .pem is for SSH, right? So when you SSH, you can use the command prompt on your machine, or you can use the PowerShell, right? If you was doing .ppk down here, then you would have to use PuTTY, right? All right, so we're creating our key pair. and then we just downloaded it. You see it came to our downloads right here. All right, so we know where it's at. It's in downloads, not a problem. All right, cool. Always make a note of where that is, right? But 9 times 10, if you make it and download it, it's going to go to your downloads folder. Then you can move it to whatever appropriate folder you want to move it to later on, right? All right, cool. So now when we come over here, all right, so create, oh shit, I didn't name it the right way, did it? Doesn't matter. All right, so game server key pair, let me see. Let me make sure, I'm gonna go back and change that just to make sure, right? I know I was in teaching mode, but you know, I'm gonna name it, I'm gonna go back and make another one, and then I'm gonna name this game server key pair, all right? Just so I can stay in accordance with everything that's going on, right? So create a new key pair, I'm call this game server key and then pair. Make sure I got it the same way they do. Yep. All right, cool. All right, and then we will create our new key pair, right? Not a problem, not a problem. Okay, so then, yep, create key pair, we've done that. All right, cool. Then we're gonna go down to network settings, right? So when we click on network settings, we gotta go set up our network. Wanna make sure that it's fully expanded, right? Okay. Select an existing security group, right? Because you need security groups to like further protect your assets. We're going to choose the one that was already created by the game, so we won't get into security groups too deep today. We'll just go down and select. See, you have the default, another default security group, but this is the web server security group that it wants us to use, right? That's not a problem. All right, cool. When we choose that, all right, move on to our next step. Then we'll scroll down and then it just summarizes everything for us, right? So we'll just come down, scroll down, and then this is our summary on the right hand side. Everything looks good. T2 Nano, web server, security group, that's what we were supposed to have, right? And then, yep, storage good. All right, and then we're just gonna create our template. All right, so now that we've created our launch template, right? View launch templates. Let me come back over here. Scroll down and then view launch templates. So here we have our launch template right here that we're going to use to launch our web server right down the road, okay? All right, so go down, view launch templates, we're good to go. All right, so now we're going to go on to auto scaling groups, right? So in the left navigation pane, click auto scaling groups. All right, there we go, auto scaling groups. All right, so we're gonna click on that and then we're gonna create an auto scaling group. All right, so clicking on that and creating an auto scaling group. All right, and then it's gonna ask us, all right, so now to choose, it's gonna say regular customer game server, the auto scaling group name. All right, so regular customer game server. All right, regular customer game server, and then game server template. All right, game server template is already there by default, right? So now let's move on. So we're going to scroll down, then we're going to hit the next button. All right, and then we're going to choose our VPCs. All right, so it wants us to choose the VPC, so be very careful when you're looking at this, right? Where we have 10.10.0.0 and it's a /16 and it says auto healing. Okay, so we'll choose that VPC and then we'll choose both the subnets. So we have US East 1. Remember I told you at the beginning of the video, make sure you understand what availability zone and what region that you're in, right? So we have, for our two subnets, we have US East 1 Alpha and US East 1 Bravo right here, okay? All right, so we got US East 1 Alpha and 1 Bravo. We're going to use both of those. And this is the default. Default is always 172.31.0.0. So we're going to come over here and choose this one. This is the correct VPC, all right, that we had, that we're going to need for our example. All right, so now we'll come over here, scroll all the way down, and then we'll click next, okay? All right, so we come down. Oh, hold up. I did choose both of those, bro. All right, there we go. All right, bam. So they're already chosen. All right, and then now that we came over here, all right, so now load balancing, right? Wants us to configure the load balancing. So what does the load balancing do, right? So imagine, like you're at you walk into a restaurant, right? And then you walk up to like let's say it's a burger stand, all right? You don't just, if every customer just walked up to all the cooks, it would like overload the system. So basically what a load balancer does is like you have that one cashier that's at the front. So all the customers got to send all their traffic through the cashier, and then the cashier sends the orders back to the kitchen. So that way is everything is done within like an orderly manner, right? So we need a load balancer because when all this traffic comes through, it takes all the traffic and then it just dishes it out to our web service, right? Or through that auto scaling group, right? So that way our network does not become bogged down, in a better example. All right, so we got choose no load balancer. Then the health check is 240 seconds. Okay, so no load balancer here. And then we can just go ahead and got 240 seconds right here. All right, and then click next. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right, and then we got to set our desired size. So basically what we're saying is how many machines do we want up at any given time, right? We want to run at our desired capacity, and then we want to have a minimum capacity saying, hey, I don't want no less than this amount of machines, and then a maximum capacity saying, but don't go higher than this amount of machines, right? So that's what we're doing when we're creating our policy here. So let's go. All right, and it's giving us the numbers. It says, hey, we want the desired to be 2, we want the minimum to be 2, and we want the maximum to be 4. So it's going to fluctuate anywhere between 2 and 4, okay? All right, so right there we got a 2. All right, we got 2 right here, and we got 4, okay? And this right here is going to be the web servers that we spin up within our auto scaling group, right? That's what this is going to be. And then probably going to tell us to do a target tracking policy. All right, there we go. So then we're going to choose target tracking policy. All right, and keep going. All right, so for the scaling policy name, all right, it says what? CPU utilization. All right, so let's go ahead and type that in there. So for the scaling policy name, all right, and then so CPU utilization. Man, it's so hard typing on live and trying to spell this without making any mistakes. Man, y'all should click like for that, man. All right. Hey, so average CPU utilization. All right, good. Yep, that's right. And then our target value. So basically what it's saying, right? So remember how we set that minimum and that maximum capacity. What it's saying is, hey, when those first 2 machines, right, for the minimum capacity, when any of those machines reach 70% utilization, go ahead and spin up another resource. This is how we keep from getting bogged down, okay? So that's why we are doing this, right? So we'll go ahead and set this to a hot 70%, excuse me. All right, and then let me see what else we got here. All right, and then it's telling us to click next, okay? All right, so now let's see what we got. And it says click skip to review. Okay, and then making sure that we got game server template, VPC, US East 1A, US East 1B. Okay, health checks every 240 seconds, that's the grace period. And then desired capacity, minimum capacity, and maximum capacity. That's what we're looking for, okay? So skip to review, did that. All right, and now we're gonna create our auto scaling group. So let's go ahead and create our auto scaling group. All right. And then once we do that, we have to go, okay, it's telling us once we create our auto scaling group, then go ahead and click on it. All right, so it's updating capacity. We got what we need right there. All right, so click on activity and then review the history, okay? So click on activity and then review the history. So it says, hey, launching a new instance, right? So it's created, it spun up those first two instances that we was talking about, okay? All right, automatic scaling. Click on automatic scaling. Then it says scroll down and then create scheduled action. All right. Now, this is the part where at the beginning of the video, the customer asked us to say, hey, we run a game cafe and we got a lot of people coming to play the game between 8 p.m. and 1 a.m. So we need to target our resources around that time period, right? The customer came with that specific ask, and now we are going to build that out for the customer within the console. All right. So we're going to go to create scheduled action, and then we're going to call the scheduled action second wave of regulars, right? So let's go to create scheduled action, and then we're going to call the scheduled action second wave. Let me see how they spelled that. Of regulars. All right, second wave of regulars. All right, second wave of regulars, okay? And then the desired capacity, so that we could probably put the same thing that we had for the other ones, right? Our desired capacity, our minimum capacity is 2, and then our maximum capacity will be 4, right? Oh no, they want, okay, sorry, 3, and 4 for that time period, because they already know it's going to be a lot of people in there, right? So 3, 4. All right, cool. And then we want this to reoccur every week. So we set up a cron job. Remember I told you guys earlier, you guys and gals, that you need to learn Linux, right? So you need to know, like, hey, this is the day of the week, right? This is the time frame, all that type of stuff. Like, you need to know about Linux, right? If you want to work in cloud computing, you definitely need to know that, right? All right, I digress. So go back to, all right, so we got every week right here. And then etc, UTC, yep. And then go to a specific time. So choose that date. So we want to make sure we choose a date that's in the future, I believe. All right, let me see what it says. All right, for a specific date, choose a future date, then type 20 or 2000, which is 8 p.m. Right? I know that because I was in the military so many years. You can look at the background back there, right? All right, got it. So type 2000 in the text box. All right, then create. Okay, cool. So we come down here, we choose a date in the future. Today is the 15th of January. So we'll just go 16 Jan, right? And then we'll just type 2000 right there. Okay. Why don't we set an end time though? All right, got it. So 2000 and then create. So we'll go ahead and create this. All right, cool. All right, so we did that. Now we're going to the next step. All right, so now it says, hey, review that scaling policy that we just created. I don't really see what that's cool. All right. So now we go to the third and the last final step, right? So now what we're going to do is we have to go in and build a policy. Like we built a policy that brought up all those web servers, right? So we had like 3 different web servers, right, as the minimum capacity, and 4 as the max to handle all the traffic for our gamers when they come into the cafe after 8 o'clock. Now we're going to have to set up one like that shuts everything down at 1 o'clock, right? It's like kicking people out the restaurant. Like, I don't know if you ever worked in like a restaurant and people come in at the last minute, everybody's like wiping down tables, like staring at the people, like, yo, it's time to get out. Like, yeah. All right, cool. All right, so now the do it yourself. So basically, what we got to do, all right, configure an auto scaling policy to scale down to 0 resources at 1 a.m. every single day. All right, got it. All right, so now let's go ahead and create a scheduled action. We'll call this shut down to, let's call it shut down to 0. All right. And then we'll say, yep. And then we want this every single day, right? All right, just every single day. And then a specific time, we'll do this also, right? We'll do this also for the future. And then this is at 1 a.m., right? So 01. All right, cool. And then we'll create that. Schedule action, given start time is in the past. Oh, got it. So we need to go for that next day, that following day. All right, good. All right, cool. So we just created like a policy for the following day because that would be 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever. All right, now. So now I'm gonna come over here and it says, hey, give the schedule action name that we just created. What was that? Shut down to 0. So shut down, let me see, shut down to 0. All right, let's see how that works out. So shut down to 0. All right, bam, you did it, right? So we just created a policy, right, that shut all of our resources down to 0, and that's exactly what the customer was asking. So now we can go back and give the customer the good news and let them know, like, hey, we are successful cloud engineers. Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know about you. All right, so let's go back and talk to our guy here. Thanks. This is just what we needed. Now choose the reward. All right. So like every time I do this episode or whatever, for the people that's out there watching, I always say, hey, please choose one of these for me. So which one do you like? Do you like option 1? Do you like option 2? Or do you like option 3? I'm gonna give y'all about 15 seconds to put that in the chat. All right. Like I think last time we had a building like this. So we'll see. All right, go with 3. So we're gonna go with 3. All right, bam. And there you have it, right? We are like adding to our city because we are like solving problems for our customers. It's a great thing, right? It's a great thing. Ha, hip hip hooray for Trey. Hip hip hooray for everybody. All right. So hey, we are now 83%. All right, let me go ahead and close this stuff out. We are like this close to receiving our Cloud Quest badge. Hey, and the cool thing about this, right, is that once you actually go through this and earn this, you can actually put this badge like on your LinkedIn, right? So you can kind of show employers like, hey, I am working towards, practicing or doing labs of cloud computing. It's very cool. And right now we're doing the cloud practitioner track, but man, they got tracks on like solutions architect associate and cloud security, machine learning, data engineer. They got all type of stuff, man. So, I'm just doing the cloud practitioner just to kind of show people like, hey, you can actually solve these little, solutions, and it kind of gives you a little, just a sneak peek. If you don't know anything about cloud computing, you can go around the console and things like that. So it's pretty cool, man. Hey, so I thank everyone out there for joining me today. All right. I thank everyone out there for joining me. I appreciate all of you for stopping by, right? And, spending a little time with Trey, right? As we are on our tech savvy journey, right? Within the cloud to become great cloud engineers for whichever pack in track. I mean, whatever track that we choose to go down. So until next time, I'll see all of you later, right? If you haven't seen any of the other videos, go back and watch the other videos in this series. It's all within the same playlist, right? And it only just helps you get better at cloud computing. All right, so I'll see all of you later. Peace.